Bitcoin is, of course, down below 30,000, even though traditional markets kind of boring. But joining us now to discuss it is none other than WisdomTree's head of digital assets, Will Peck. Hey, Will, how's it going?
Great. How are you both?
Well, other than that story we just did, I'm fantastic. Listen, we can't talk to WisdomTree unless we talk about ETFs, because obviously WisdomTree, one of the companies that applied for an ETF. The clock is ticking with you guys as to whether or not the SEC will accept or reject you, and I think it's 5 other applications here. I'm not saying you personally, but you're head of digital assets. I assume you had some role in this. So I got to ask a couple of questions. We saw this rally into 30,000 with the applications. What happens on the outside chance that somebody gets approved? You've had your applications rejected before. First of all, what would make you think that this would work? Second of all, what happens if, let's say, 1 or 2 of these go through, 1 or 3 or 4 of them get rejected? What happens to the market? How does it interpret it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Look, I can't comment on our specific filing. Obviously, I mean, I think everyone's followed that the big kind of change in some of these current suite of filings has been around a surveillance sharing agreement that's contemplated with some of the spot markets in the U.S. Named Coinbase recently. So, obviously that's been one of the SEC's big concerns, is potential for market manipulation. They didn't feel like there was a regulated market of sufficient size that was providing that sort of surveillance sharing agreement with the ETF listing exchanges. And so I think you're seeing a lot of people put in place something to address that. And that's been the change, but it's no crystal ball. You can't really forecast it. From our perspective, we just want to work productively with the SEC, and we think a spot Bitcoin ETF is the right execution for an ETF as opposed to futures in the U.S. market. So, we'll keep working at it. I think it would make a lot of sense for investors who want to get that, but again, no crystal ball and no timing on when that might, get approved or things could change.
So you have Coinbase in your surveillance, correct? And everyone seems to.
Well, as a technical matter, it's the exchange makes a filing called the 19B4 that so our exchange is CBOE, and they've named Coinbase in the surveillance sharing agreement.
Got it. So they're sort of involved. And so, what do you think is going on here in terms of let's get down to nitty gritty on price here. We saw some of the alts obviously rallied with XRP, namely Lumens, Stellar Lumens, which had a nice little rally to coincide with it because same founder-ish kind of sort of Jeb McCaleb, and somebody might have copied and pasted some code here and there. Okay, that's great. Nonetheless, this is, those guys went up, but then you also saw Solana. You also saw Matic, all these other altcoins. They kind of went up. Now they're down kind of significantly, especially over the last 24 hours. What happened?
Well, I'd be pretty clearly that's all related to the kind of the developments in the Ripple lawsuit, which, I can't really comment on like some of the specifics there. I think a lot of the commentary that I've been seeing is that maybe it's not the biggest win for kind of Ripple in the long run, but it gives some, Coinbase certainly felt more comfortable relisting XRP from what I saw. So, obviously that is an interesting development. I think some of the altcoins, rose up from there. That's not really our focus necessarily as a company. I mean, I think certainly in the US, we're more focused on Bitcoin and Ether. That's what we're delivering through our direct to retail offering, WisdomTree Prime, as opposed to the altcoins. So, interesting that they're moving, but it's not really a focus of mine.
Let's talk about the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. It's fallen into neutral territory. That, of course, indicates investor uncertainty. What's your outlook for Bitcoin?
It's tough to put a price target on in the near term, right? There's some new piece of news that comes out. I think Lawrence was asking earlier what would happen with a Bitcoin ETF. Is that, priced into the market? And I guess it's an underlying question of how much institutional money there might be out there that's not able to access Bitcoin today. It might actually be smaller than we think it is at some level, right? I mean, Bitcoin's been around for a while. Certainly retail's found a way to get access. And for a lot of retail investors, Coinbase, things like WisdomTree Prime would be great ways for them to purchase Bitcoin as well. So for some institutions, that maybe have steered clear of GBTC in the past, they're interested in a Bitcoin ETF. And I think certainly it could generate retail flow over time. And you'll see it take market share from things like GBTC or some of these trusts that are out there. But I think it's a real question if there's actually that much underlying unmet demand for Bitcoin ETF, or maybe it's just a blessing that gives some more people the ability to come in.
You mentioned WisdomTree Prime there. That's a new app that WisdomTree has launched. How has the regulatory uncertainty kind of impacted the launch of this app in your offering?
Not really so much. I mean, like I said, we haven't been focused on some of these altcoins where more of the securities implications comes. We're just doing Bitcoin and Ether as a crypto assets. I mean, really what's interesting about WisdomTree Prime is blockchain-enabled finance is what we call it, bringing real-world assets on-chain to deliver a better retail financial services experience. So WisdomTree is a big believer in tokenization. We believe it can be the next wrapper for asset management and financial services. And we've been trying to go through the front door of regulation through things like our digital funds, which are effectively 40 Act registered mutual funds with a tokenized share record, allowing you to have kind of an on-chain financial services experience using these real-world assets for things as basic as U.S. Treasuries, as equities, et cetera. And outside that digital fund structure, things like tokenized gold as well is something that we've done. So we believe that blockchain can be a better way to deliver financial services. Bringing real-world assets on-chain is something that everyone's been talking about these past few months, and we feel like we're really an early mover here, and we're excited to bring that forward with WisdomTree Prime.
You're not worried about ETH being declared a security all of a sudden, are you?
No, well, look, I mean, obviously, again, no crystal ball on this stuff. I think if you look at the spectrum of digital assets out there, crypto assets out there, I think we're comfortable with it.
All right, Will, we're going to leave it there this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be with you both. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Happy Friday.
Bye-bye.
That was WisdomTree Head of Digital Assets, Will Peck.